Hello, buddy. Welcome back to the Redmen TV and the part of the day where we have a chat about what we just watched, which was Liverpool 2, Manchester United 2 as well. Disappointing, frustrating, opportunity missed for the Reds, just sort of more generally speaking about the landscape in the Premier League and just generally about what that could have been for the Reds, but in more detail, which is what we'll go into now for the next 20 minutes or so. This is where you have your say on everything we just watched there. You could definitely put a case forward for Liverpool being relatively fortunate to have gotten away with a point, to be honest, not just in terms of the chances and the big chances, one of which Manchester United spurned right at the death there. Harry Maguire with the goal at his mercy fired over Joshua Zirkzee, potentially offside in the build-up, but he could have probably finished it himself if he really had any confidence about him right now, but he clearly doesn't. Therefore, he chose to pass it and Maguire missed. But yeah, we were miles off it. I didn't. The first half was terrible, like abysmal. We just looked lethargic, a bit complacent, all the things that I wanted us to guard against, and I didn't really expect from us pre-game. I saw it certainly in the first 45 minutes, and then I thought, okay, reset at half-time, you've got him, you're in the game still, United would probably have the better of the half, but no damage done. Improve on it like we've done so often this season. But it wasn't. It was more of the same. And I don't know if they dragged us down to their level. I can't put my finger on what it was, but it was... Well, can put my finger on what it was. It was bad. And bad is an understatement, to be honest. Marcus Ward kicks us off with a super chat. Thank you very much, Marcus. For all the world-class ability Trent has, he just looks like he can't be fucking bothered sometimes, and it's infuriating. Listen, the Trent thing is the thing, and I'm not going to shy away from it because it's not the time nor the place to do so. I've tried my hardest to support and avoid the Trent discussion up until this point, in terms of, like, I've spoken about his contract dozens of times and what I want to happen there and tried to make sense of where we're at and all that sort of stuff. But in terms of the criticism and the scrutiny of his performances, I've tried to just shy away from it, because I think he's played generally okay. I'm pretty sure he's been nominated for Premier League Player of the Month. I think he's been all right. Maybe not to his level at times, but I think generally his defensive work's definitely been better prior to today. And yeah, I think all in all, the whole lethargy and the lethargic nature of his game is something that I think has always kind of existed. But there's no shying away from, or there's no denying, he was terrible today. Absolutely terrible. Just off it. Gave possession away far too many times, lost Jules out of position. And I don't mind the whole casual nature of his play. Sometimes I think it's okay, because again, that's just the way he looks and that's just the way he plays. It's fine on occasion. However, when you are at a position and there is danger unfolding in the area of the pitch supposed to be yours, that you're supposed to have ownership of, and you're not busting a gut to get back and help out or get back into position or potentially stop the danger, that's when questions need to be asked. And that happened too often today. It was mistake-laden. It looked, I said earlier on, they looked lethargic and complacent. Trent was that times 10. Like, it was so poor. And I'll be honest, for the first time today, I thought he looked like he was in his own head and he had a million things going on. The weight of the world looked on his shoulders. And I haven't really noticed that before this, but it was clear for all to see, I felt. And the timing of Conor Bradley's return to fitness is something in this conversation as well, in terms of what happens next. But even in that 10-minute cameo, whatever it was, right at the end, Conor Bradley was far clear of Trent and what he offered, and Conor Bradley's been missing for weeks. Man, it was grim. It was grim. But Liverpool weren't good, and I've seen people in the chat mention United's game plan, and you got to give some credit, as much as it pains me to do so, to Manchester United. They did come with a game plan, they executed it well. However, that's probably the best United can be, and that was probably the worst version of us I've seen over the course of a 90-odd minute game all season long. I actually think we played better against Nottingham Forest. Genuinely do. And that's saying something. We were second to everything. Absolutely everything. It was so poor. Not something I've become accustomed to when it comes to this Liverpool team. And not something I ever want to see again from this Liverpool team either, to be honest. I'm aware I've missed some super chats. So I'll just dive over them before I dive into the normal chat as well. Just bear with me if you can, everybody. Much appreciated. Daniel says Real Madrid can take Trent. Trent can't defend. Again, on the evidence of today, it's hard to disagree. Etsam said, do you think the Fiore surrounding Trent has affected him? Connor should have come on at half-time in your bit. Listen, I think we were all waiting for Arne Slot to finally just go, it's got to be Connor Bradley now. Maybe Connor Bradley only had 10, 15 minutes in him. He's only been back for a matter of days in terms of training. So he might have made that change earlier had he been able to. Who knows? And Joe Gomez wasn't in the squad either, so that could have been an option. But I'll be honest, I don't think he would have done it at half-time, but from the 55th minute, Trent could have come off at any point. It wasn't just the way he was playing, that was a big factor, but he just looked. He looked so done with that game of football for whatever reason. Maybe he knew he was having an off day, maybe it is all the noise around Madrid, who knows, but something wasn't right, and something wasn't right in a big way, and it's a major concern because, again, I've been quite happy to sort of park and put to one side all the contract stuff because results have been so good and they haven't really intertwined and affected one another. Today, midway through that second half, I was sat there thinking, this is what I was fearful of. This is what I dreaded might happen in terms of there's so much speculation, there's so much of a story and a narrative around someone's future. When does that bleed into the performance? And I think we might have just watched it. And it pains me to say, because I think he's a wonderful footballer. I do. And I know I've just watched him stink the gaff out for 86 minutes, whatever it was. But yeah, that wasn't good, man. That wasn't good. Ewan says, thanks for super chat as well. At least we didn't lose being on the next. Yeah, at least we didn't lose. There are positives to take from this game, and that's probably it. There's a couple of performances, which we'll talk about in more detail later on for the player rankings, that probably just about passable. But yeah, not losing, which we could easily have done, is a major positive because, my word. And it's actually sort of status quo, and as you were in terms of the title race a little bit. I know Forest play tomorrow. That's a conversation. I know City won, another conversation. But yeah, with Arsenal and Chelsea both dropping points, it's not too damaging. It's just, like I said, right at the top, just an opportunity missed. Alexander, Man United usually up it versus LFC, so I wasn't surprised. They were decent, but I really thought Trent had improved his defending this season. Even Virgil was visibly angry with him. Even his passing was shit. Everything about Trent's performance today was below par. And that is a massive understatement. And you're right on the Virgil point as well. He was furious. Because the second goal, albeit you can put a lot of the blame at Trent's door because he wasn't there, but he wasn't there. He was just in a different position further up the pitch. But it comes from that side again. Everything negative from a Liverpool point of view today came from right back, literally. And a lot of people have shone a light and criticised Andy Robertson at times this season, and rightfully so, because he's definitely had a mistake in him and he's been culpable for some of the bad things and the errors. But today, it was one-way traffic and it was down Trent's side time and time again. Anyway, last super chat now, and I'll dive back into the normal chats, everyone. It could have been worse, but could and should have been so much better. Maybe the weather played a part in the performance, but that's no excuse. Don't know what to say about Trent after that. We go again. Yeah, listen, the conditions weren't helpful, but I'm saying for both teams, we were just so far off it. So far off it. I said it a minute ago. The basics and the fundamentals of being able to compete in a football match are winning your duels, and being active enough and busy enough to win second balls. We didn't do any of that. Almost exclusively to a man. Poor. James Lane, one of our members. Trent was shocking. His positioning was shocking. At least we didn't lose, and we are in command. Things haven't changed. No, again, status quo remains the same, James, and that's it. You know, once the dust has settled, maybe in the morning, we might be able to take stock a little bit better and realise the position that we are in remains one of great strength. However, in the immediate aftermath of that performance against them, you can't help but scratch your head and to dissect it to an inch of its life because it was so poor. Hawks, thank you very much. Thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. Connor was better in all ways in 10 minutes than he moaned for Trent before it. Canate ran himself into the ground to make up for him. Virgil, like he wanted to chin Trent, his worst ever performance. Listen, it's hard to disagree. And the Canate point's interesting. In the same way that Bradley's only been back for a matter of days, and I agree, looked miles clear of Trent in that little cameo. Canate's just back into the fold as well, and he looked knackered by the end of it because, as you say there, he had to work overtime in order to try and stem the tide over there because Trent was often nowhere to be seen, often sloppy. Oh, mate. Owen, Trent can get a fucking plane ticket to Madrid tomorrow. Imagine him versus Barcelona. Absolutely pathetic. Yeah, listen, the reasons as to why he was so off it, we will discuss and discuss and discuss. I'm absolutely certain of it, and rightfully so. But yeah, all I know is right now he was off it. It'd be interesting to see if anybody asks Arne Slot about it. And criticising an individual player doesn't really feel like Arne Slot's style. But given what's going on in terms of the contract and the Real Madrid noise, it wouldn't shock me if somebody outright said to him, maybe that's affected Trent's performance, because, again, that's the only conclusion you can really draw from it, because that level of performance, and again, his demeanour, his whole facial expressions just look like a fella who was just battling with himself, really. Really, really tough to watch. Lewis says, all Slot had to do was change Trent when we went 2-1 up. We had a lead to hang on to, and United obviously still a big threat down that side. It is what it is, though, we're not changing the league. Well, it's a good point about making the change. Yeah, absolutely, because we kind of somewhat fortuitously found ourselves in that situation. Bit of Gakpo magic, don't get me wrong. Wonderful, wonderful finish. The best moment of quality from a Liverpool perspective all game long, more or less. There's one or two here and there that are decent, but that's the one. And yeah, Salah gets the pen, nailed on penalty. Don't know what to complain about in terms of the handball. And just about manages to get it past Onana. So yeah, once we found ourselves in the lead, maybe then Arne Slot should have gone break glass. Let's make sure we keep this. You could have gone Endo. You could have gone Bradley, as you mentioned. I do wonder with Conor Bradley, and I made the point earlier, maybe he isn't or wasn't ready for anything over like 15 minutes. I know that sounds extreme, but you never know. We don't know how little or how much training he did yesterday, really. So yeah, man, tough, really, really tough, and so frustrating, so disappointing. And I know we all got somewhat ahead of ourselves prior to the match, but I think we all, almost to a man, woman, and child, said there is no room for complacency here, and you can't take anything for granted because football doesn't work like that. And this is Manchester United; they're gonna be up for it. And lo and behold, they were up for it, especially with a new manager at the helm. They were always likely to put up somewhat of a fight. Another super chat. Honestly, Trent looked like he had already signed the Madrid contract. So poor. Yeah, and Paolo says we win that game if we start with Bradley. Yeah, I mean the Bradley point is he should have, would have, could. I very much doubt he would have been ready to start the game, to be honest, in terms of fitness. But yeah, I do take the point massively so. And as for the Madrid one, again, I've been reticent to sign up to that logic because I want him to stay. Ultimately, I've always maintained that position, and I still do. So I've been sort of almost like avoiding that topic like the plague a little bit in terms of one side of his head's in Madrid. But again, based on what I've just watched, I've got to agree with you. I've just got to agree with you. It was properly put. I'm going to get the trend stats up in a moment just so we discuss it. The Tattoo Gardener says 6 points clear. That's two very niche jobs you put together there. 6 points clear, game in hands, and yet feel very frustrated with that. I hope we stay focused and respond. Yeah, the response has to be with a win. Obviously, it's Carabao Cup action next. What I was pleased about in terms of positives today was the response to Liverpool, because we were absolutely stinking the gaff out. We were horrendous for so much of that game. Huge chunks of the game we were under the caution. Couldn't really get any sort of foothold or any dominance like we would have expected. We couldn't assert ourselves on the game whatsoever. But then to find ourselves, whichever manner it came about, ahead, and again it was a moment of quality and a little bit of good fortune with the penalty. To find ourselves ahead does show good character, it shows good resilience, it shows good powers of recovery, which is massively important when you're in a title race. It really is. It shows a lot of good qualities and attributes about the group and the mentality and the squad. But then to throw it away in the manner that we did is equally as frustrating, and shows equally the opposite of what I've just mentioned there. The mental fortitude should have really come to the fore to allow us to see that game out. Instead, it's more of the same, really, in terms of what that performance has been. So yeah, bleak. Okay, let's dive back into the chat, shall we? Dan, I'm overreacting when I say Trent was lazy, unwell, and deserved a tier below your messing state. Cyan Roy, my friend, you are not overreacting. Not at all. It was all of those things. He was, yeah. so far off the pace. I hate criticising any Liverpool player because that's not who I am, but I can't sugarcoat it. It was, I think Hawks earlier on says the worst performance he's put in. I can't think of a worse one from Trent Alexander-Arnold, and his level's been astronomical through the roof. He's one of the best footballers I've ever watched play for Liverpool Football Club. Well, certainly one of the most technically gifted. But what I saw today, and that's what leads me to the unwelcomed conclusion, stroke suspicion, that there's more at play here than just a bad performance. That's what my concern is, because it was so poor and his head looked so done in that I can't grasp that that's just him playing poorly and him having an off day. Because, yeah, Johnny, I tend to agree with you, mate. I know I'm the one talking, but listen, the chat controls what we talk about. Fan of Drac says, Mackett and Gravenberch, the only players deserve praise. I'd throw Cody Gakpo into that mix as well. For what to have, and arguably Alisson Becker as well, who made 2 or 3 decent saves, and probably couldn't have done a lot with the goals. Abdu says, another one there. Just a shout out, regardless if it comes or goes in the next 6 months, we have Alexis fucking McAllister. What a play. Yeah, he was the standout for me today, to be honest. I haven't done the man of match thing yet on socials. I will do that later. And we'll do it in the player ranking show as well. But yeah, I think McAllister was exceptional. And one of the few, for large part, who looked up for the fight, really, and did win his duels and did sort of show some intent and some purpose for what he was doing. I thought Gravenberch was decent in moments, but I thought across the course, McAllister was probably the one real sort of prominent figure for Liverpool, to be fair, in a good way. Anyway, Trent proved today why he will never be Gerrard. Listen, I just wonder, in many ways, I hope it is the conflict in his head that's causing him the problems, because once it's resolved, hopefully in the way that I'd like, it means we can all move on with our lives and he can get back to playing the way he can, because whatever's going on with him now ain't pretty, and it ain't doing Liverpool any favours. Not at all. Not based on that. Bradley brought on too late. Yeah, possibly. No, possibly about it. Absolutely he was. Again, my caveat would be, how many minutes did he have in the tank? Slot has to be called out too for not seeing what we saw on TV. Slot will have known. Trent said it's gone. He's off, lads. Yeah. I don't know how to say that name. I wish I did, though, because it's a beautiful name. But I really don't, so sorry. We need to put in a way better performance on Wednesday against Spurs. We are capable of better. Come on, you Reg, you never walk alone. Yeah, listen, we have to bounce back from that performance. Absolutely. We're capable of miles better. I maintain, and I'll be stand corrected on this, I think that's our worst performance of the season. I think we've played worse in patches, potentially. A couple of 20, 30-minute spells here and there. A couple of first halves here and there, arguably as well. But over the course of an entire match, I think that's our worst display so far, and I include Forest in that. Is it Aoife? It might be. I don't know. Doesn't feel right to me. It's an unfortunate situation, Chrissy. He put his team there. He could end up. Man United decide to show up against big teams. Yeah, they're always going to show up against us. Abdul thinks it's because of the snow. I don't know about that. Supermax says the game was like a pinball machine. It was. It descended into chaos. And the last thing Liverpool wanted was for that game to descend into chaos, because we thrive in control now. We dominate performances. We just impose ourselves on the opposition until they break. None of that. Thank you very much. None. Thank you. I didn't want to butcher it, so I wasn't going to attempt to. I've had an entire lifetime of people butchering my surname, so I wasn't going to do it to you. Daniel James says, we made Manchester United look good. Diaz is off it today. Very surprised. Yeah, do you know what? I'm good. Thanks, Adam. Hope you are as well. The fullbacks were both poor today, absolutely. I must admit, just on the Diaz point, just briefly before we move on, I thought we missed a proper centre forward today, and I thought Jota looked actually quite lively when he came on. But there's a couple of moments in the first half, and it was a first half with glimmers of promise for Liverpool. But there was one or two. I think Gravenberch turns his man in midfield and he's running at the back 5 of Manchester United, and there's no options in behind. If he takes a shot in the end, it's a decent shot. It goes just wide. It's not a bad effort. And there's another moment a few minutes later when Gakpo does the same, and he's running into the final third as well. And there's no runner, there's no options in the attacking sense. And I think we do miss, like, Diaz is really good at being elusive and drawing defenders out and all that sort of stuff. But he's not a centre forward. He's not an out and out centre forward. So you want someone on the shoulder and sort of sniffing around that area. And I don't know, we just missed it. Jota was there. Well, Jota did okay when he came on. I thought Jota did okay. Abdul says at least we didn't lose. Yeah, Fowler, listen. Lisandro Martinez scoring the opener and potentially the winner at one point was enough for me in terms of what I didn't need in my life. Harry Maguire scoring the winner right at the end there would have been brutal. Absolutely brutal. Was he definitely offside though, Xerxes? Because I've only seen it once. And it looked really tight to me. And I actually would argue that Xerxes should hit it. I know Harry Maguire is probably in a better position, but Xerxes is a centre-forward striker who gets paid an obscene amount of money to put chances away like that. And I know his confidence is through the floor, but still. We needed the first goal. The fact they scored first gave them confidence. Yeah, I think not just the fact they scored first. I think the fact that we didn't take control of the game early. If we score in the first 15, 20 minutes, I said earlier on, their heads are suddenly all over the place and they think, oh no, here we go again at Anfield. But the fact we gave them such hope and belief that we weren't at it and they had a sniff in the game just made life proper difficult for ourselves. And that's down to us, ultimately. I said earlier on, like, the biggest threat to that performance and to our chances felt like it was us. Only we could really stumble ourselves. Because if we turn up today and play in the manner and with the confidence and with the assurity that we have done this season, we steamroll Manchester United. But all of those things weren't there at all. God. The main thing now is keep unity in the dressing room, so hope this doesn't knock confidence. Yeah, I don't think it'll knock confidence. I'm pretty sure there'll be some open and honest and frank conversations to be had in that changing room afterwards, because it was far too below par, far too lacklustre. Arne Slot will be livid with that performance. But yeah, it's time for us to respond. I'm watching that back, that is proper close to offside. I'm not sure he's that offside there, Xerxes. I'll be honest. Someone said miles off. They're watching the chance back now on Sky Sports, so they're clearly not certain either. Yeah, I think we might have got away with one there. We need Robinson to replace Robertson and allow Bradley more game time. Yeah, definitely agree on the Bradley point, but I'm not sure Robinson is the man. I like him a lot. I think if he was like 22, 23, I'd have a different chat with you, but not when he's like 27. I don't think we're buying him personally. LFC were definitely poor today. That is an understatement, my friend. I did want to dive in. I know we've done a lot of trends, but there's some numbers behind what we're saying earlier on as well. Ground duels won 0 out of 5. And I know we've done a lot of Trent bashing today. It's the first time I've ever done anything like this on one of these shows. And possession lost 25 times. All in all, not good. Not good at all. And he needs to react. We spoke a moment ago about people reacting and responding to that in a positive manner. He has to do exactly the same. Next time he steps onto a footy pitch for Liverpool, which, as things stand, will definitely happen, he has to produce. He's got to clear whatever going on in his head as well. He has to. He can't continue like that. There's a long time to go in this window, and if he has got his heart set on Real Madrid and he does want it to happen now, something's got to give, because putting in performances of that calibre won't do for Liverpool Football Club. It just won't. Anyone thinks that we shouldn't be snatching that money for Trent now is delusional. Bench him, sell him. And Tyron says, I'm hoping this will show the owners we need little help in Jan. It sounds like we're doing nothing in this sport, and this is moving backwards. Yeah, I listen. I agree. I think we do need to do a bit of business, to be honest with you. The squad today was at maximum strength, more or less, barring Dom Szoboszlai's illness, of course. So it's a hell of a squad. But I tend to be with you in terms of the fact that one or two additions would not go amiss at all. Madrid execs at the paper shredder as we speak. Yeah, if they watch that, then they might be inclined to look elsewhere. Pedro Porro had a decent game for Spurs yesterday, so maybe they should look to him instead as the option. Maybe that was what it was all about. A bit of 4D chess from Trent and the Reds. Put Madrid off the scent, he says, knowing that fully wasn't the case. I'm just going to dive into our Twitter momentarily. LFC Seattle says, uninspiring start of 2025 as the Reds are masters of their own demise. It's the wrong word, but he was pissed. As he let the Manx escape with a point in a 2-2 draw. Mako man the match in a match where he was second best. A lot of jewels. Yeah, a lot of jewels is absolutely spot on. Craig Everton says, so poor, we should have lost. We made them look decent and they're shite. Yeah, absolutely concur with that. Couldn't even make a simple pass at most points. Yeah, the disjointedness and the inaccuracy and the sloppiness on the ball was... Trent was a disgrace in performance. Head wasn't there. How he stayed on that long, he'll never know. Robbo always seems to be there when we concede, and that's at the end. Omar said, struggle to get to grips with the game. United deserve a point. I thought Trent was poor and made things difficult for Canate, which led to the goals. No need for a meltdown. We aren't going to win every game. No, we aren't, but it's the manner with which you do it, isn't it? I know it stings a little bit more because of Manchester United, but... You're right, you can draw games. We drew with Fulham a couple of weeks ago. Circumstances dictated that we did that because we lost Andy Robertson. Fulham were good. That's how it happens. But you want to see your team turn up, at least. Like, turn up. And honestly, again, 3, 4, 5 tops of the lads in terms of the starting 11 had a game whereby they could actually hold their head up high and go, yeah, I was on it today. I believe that to be the case. Far too many off days and simple things getting wrong in terms of the passing accuracy, in terms of not winning your duels, not being second to second balls, just not being first to second balls rather. I'm honestly almost done talking about this game. It was bleak. Last season, United turned on momentum. Let's hope. Yeah, we have to guard against that. 100% agree with you on that one, mate. Because it was the FA Cup game, wasn't it? Everything came crumbling down thereafter, and we cannot allow that to be the case again. And I guess showing that resilience and actually not getting beat, because that just doubles down on the fact we are a difficult team to beat, even on our worst days today, which I believe that was. We still get out of there relatively unscathed, so that's something. But yeah, again, performance levels wise, we have to up it tenfold, because even Spurs will do a number on us if we turn up like that on Wednesday night. Even Spurs, because I think they're better than United, and they've certainly got more of an attacking threat than United. If we're as all over the place as we were tonight, they will turn us over, and that Carabao Cup semi-final will be over before it gets started as well. Trent's performance today was woeful. He had my blessings to go to Madrid and obscurity. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That also makes a lot of sense. Howard says, not a bad point considering rival results, again a bad performance. We'll have more like that, so no need to panic. Yeah, we will. We're not going to win every game, obviously, but again, it's the manner of it. It's who it was as well. Makes it all that a little bit worse, but yeah, it shouldn't have been like that. We should have just turned up and put in a performance, especially at home. The Van Dijk was superb, as was Maka. Connor, when he came on, yeah, Connor was brilliant. Yeah, and the timing of his good performance is something, and it's something that bears repeating. David says, such a frustrating game we were off today. Trent was awful and the fight was not there at all. Move on with a point, but really poor today. Yeah, absolutely. And this as well, Dickie, listen, I'm just a frustrated Liverpool fan right now. I'm not going to call anybody out and suggest that anybody needs to leave the football club immediately. It's just not my style. But yeah, I just call it how I see it based on what we just watched, really. And that was that. Yeah, it was really, really bad. Last couple now. Axel Yates says, playing midweek should help put this behind. Yeah, I like that because often when you do this, result-wise, not a catastrophe, but performance-wise, it'll feel like that. And Arne Slot will hammer home the point that was unacceptable. It absolutely was. But to go straight into another game in midweek might actually help us sort of shake off that malaise and forget about it all the quicker, because we need to, because we cannot allow that to be a hangover, allow that to sort of dictate what happens next. And the fact we've got Accrington Stanley in the cup as well might even help us sort of shake off some of that problems from this game, because there was problems. Luke, Trent lost me $5,000. Jesus, you must be fuming. Right, okay, let's wrap up this show, shall we? And let's do the bit where we all talk about the players individually. Yay. That is the player rankings show. I'm going to head to the board now. Anyone who hasn't seen it before, we've got categories which say boss, sound, and you're messing, and we've got all the players' faces of those that appeared today. I will pick up a face. You will tell me where to put it. Yeah, mate, I'm with you, and I'm fully with you. Yeah, let's do that, shall we? Come and join me, because as I always say at this stage of the night and this stage of proceedings, it's all pointless if you're not talking to me, but this next bit's proper pointless. So let's go do it. And this time, I think your messing might be required. I'll see you in a minute.